So Samuel, open up. You see? Okay, I have to use it.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing today? It's great to have us, all of us on this call. Trust the weather is not getting through us. I hope the weather is not going through us, or are we the ones going through the weather? It's quite cold today in Bolton. And just wanted to welcome each and every one of us. And thank you for, honoring the invitation to be a part of this great series. It's been, I'd say, 8 back-to-back. We've been having different discussions still in this great November to Remember series, and it has been awesome so far. Today is going to be that great experience for each and every one of us. It is fully packed and loaded with lots of stuff to learn from, and we have very great personalities on this call. My name is Samuel. I'm actually from the Department of Data Analytics and Technologies, and I will be moderating this talk with my co-moderator, again. Hello, peace. Can you say hi to everybody? You're muted.
Samuel, I think everybody would be muted. I asked Celestine to do that.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I'll be moderating with my co-coordinator, Peace Agenti, and I'll be handling the introduction part, and she'll be responsible for the Q&A session, because I know there'll be loads of questions, loads of questions. So just give me a minute. Okay, great. So I'll be starting today's session with a quote from the late Dr. Miles Monroe, who said, and I quote, said, "The wealthiest place in the world is not the gold mines of South Africa or South America or the oil fields of Iraq or Iran. They are not the diamond mines of South Africa or the banks of the world. The wealthiest place on the planet is just down the road. It is a cemetery. There lie buried companies that were never started, inventions that were never made, best-selling books that were never written, and masterpieces that were never painted. In this cemetery is buried the greatest treasure of untapped potential." How does this connect? Now, maybe you're not too scared to take all the risk. You have great ideas and you're really ready, prepared, raised up to go neck deep into your ideas and just get it going. Or maybe you have sent out several proposals, but you are still stuck, right, in the pits of collaboration and funding. You need someone to collaborate with, someone to fund your ideas, and you've not been able to get out of that shackles or challenge. Today's talk is going to be the right solution to that challenge. And we have who is capable to deliver on that. So this is just a brief intro on our bio on our guest speaker. He is responsible for supporting collaborative research activities and knowledge exchange across the University of Bolton. He is an experienced academic and has published extensively across a diverse range of subjects in the arts, education, business, and technology domains. His past engagement includes the EU Horizon 2020 project RAGE, which is realizing an applied gaming ecosystem in Europe, in chairing the White Man 200 conference, and in supporting the School of Arts collaborative research project. He is currently also engaged by the university in great projects with the EU and UKRI. It is also interesting to know that he's a fellow member of the Cybernetics Society, Kent, Great Britain. And for facts, he has handled no less than, or he has, received no less than 20 fundings, right? So he's also from a very humble background and, from parents that are, working class. He was able to become a force to reckon with, all by discipline and self-determination. So I would like each and every one of us to join me as we make welcome Professor Paul Hollins, and he'll be taking us on the topic, give me a minute, collaboration and funding best practice. Thank you very much, Professor Hollins, for joining us today. Great to have you on this call. Good afternoon. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Right, can I share this screen? Yeah, I can. Can we see that yet? No. Can we see? I'm getting your option. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Yeah, I'm just getting your options up. The mediator, it won't let me share my screen, unfortunately. All I'm getting is somebody else's iPhone and various things. So I'm not being able to share my screen at all, which is very strange. Celestine, can you tell me what is happening here, or anybody? No, it is not letting me share. I don't know why. It's not giving me options at all. So, that's interesting.
Try again.
No, it's definitely not letting me in any sense. So I don't know what. No. Any joy? No. No, can't get in at all. Right. For some reason, it's not acknowledging me at all, Celestine. I don't know why. Do you want me to just deliver it without slides? I'm quite happy to do that, but you'll just have to get a little bit tired of looking at my face if people are okay. Is that okay, Celestine? Or do you want me to access via a different computer? Okay.
Yes.
Let's try. My apologies to everybody. Just bear with me 1 second.
Okay, question and answer.
No. Oh, dear. Nope, can't get in. This is great. Okay, right. I'm going to go ahead, Celestine. I don't know what's going on. It's not letting me in. I'm like, oh, no, it isn't. Sign in to join. Sorry, I'm just accessing via another laptop I've got here. No joy. Right, I've got another solution. Ba, 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 ba. Celestine, can you give me your email address and I'll send through this presentation to you? I don't know what's happened here. I'm hoping, Celestine, you will have received my presentation, yeah? Come through? Well, hopefully everybody's okay this afternoon, and hopefully, Celestine, if you just give me a thumbs up when you can present it for me, that would be great. I've just got some message here. Could I press Alt S? No, it's just some very, very strange glitch in the system here. That's not. I've tried quite a few things, so hopefully Celestine can put the slides up and we can carry on. But thank you, first of all, for that introduction. I'm feeling somewhat humbled. And I wanted to talk about what's on our menu today. Have we got the slides, Celestine, yet? Okay, if you could put the first slide up, and that would be great, full screen. Okay, right, thank you very much indeed. So everybody seeing those slides? Yeah. Okay, right. First of all, can you put the next slide up, please, Celestine? Right, what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk a little bit about some guiding principles to help secure research funding. Not necessarily the sources, I think that's another presentation, but pointers. I'm going to give you pointers towards successful bid writing, which I think are fairly useful when you're looking towards securing grants and securing funding to undertake your research or your innovation project. And then a little bit about what do we mean by collaboration, what is it, and how we use collaboration. Really, I think it's the best way to manage complexity in research. And then I was going to talk a little bit about my own experiences of collaboration, and I will do over the course of the presentation. But something that struck me was that there's some good work out there about collaboration, and I think it's important to think about what Bozeman and others describe as bad and good collaboration factors. And we'll have a quick summary and some questions and perhaps some answers to your questions. So, Celestine, if we could do the next slide. Some guiding principles to help secure research funding. Thanks, really, Celestine, for inviting me. I feel a little bit in awe with the company that I am keeping in the November to Remember series. It's such a esteemed company, so thank you for that. And Celestine kindly just provided me with a title and said, talk to our students and our audience about funding and collaboration. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I noted with interest that no, we're not there yet, Celestine, back to one. It's good to see you enthusiastic. Okay, I'll tell you when to put slide 4 up. I noted with some real interest that in the promotional material for this event, Celestine suggested that it's depressing to have great ideas without the funding in place to develop those research ideas. Depressing is a really strong word and probably not one I would use in this context, but he's right to highlight this. It's a real challenge to secure support and funding for your research ideas, supported in both the financial sense and equally importantly, in being supported by your organisation or your institution, when much of your work will involve delivery of something, whether in the university HE teaching, in education sectors, or indeed if you're employed in research and development in industry. Good ideas are commonplace. There's lots of them. Developing these ideas into something tangible, something feasible, and importantly, something fundable is a real challenge, and getting others to support you or collaborate in developing these ideas with you is key to your success. As the adage tells us, optimistically, a problem shared is a problemed half. Or if you're on the pessimistic side of things, a problem shared is a problem subject to exponential growth. But I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm in the former. Last week, I spent 3 hours with a colleague deconstructing a funding call, exploring whether our ideas could be developed within the extremely tight constraints and requirements of a future funding call. It's work that's never seen, it's invisible, work that is never measured, nor is it often valued. Accept that most of your bids, most of your work will fail, but please embrace this failure. Something strange has happened, Celestine, with the slides. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Embrace this failure and learn from it. Improve it and then try again. Learning from failure will build your resilience. And to be a successful funder, researcher, you have to be resilient. I'm not, at least in this presentation, intending to cover sources of funding. I think that's another presentation, but I'll talk about general principles we might apply to most of our external funding, be it the UK Research and Innovation Centre, any of the research councils, EPSC, AHRC, Leverhulme, Heritage Lottery Fund, the British Council, the Design Council, EU programmes for research and innovation. And indeed here in Bolton, we have some internal awards in the Jenkinson and Riley schemes that you might want to consider applying to. These principles might just help you be successful with your next research or innovation venture, or indeed they might not. Securing funding is not an exact science. Otherwise, Celestine and others would have developed the perfect algorithm for successful bid writing. Actually, that's not a bad idea for research. Celestine, will you note that one? Okay, it's all hit and miss. And largely in my experience, it's a lot of miss. And when you miss, as I mentioned earlier, no one remembers the idea. No one remembers the hard work that you put into developing this bid. That is, except you. And you have learned from that experience. On recent news that I've been successful in securing a very large bid for research funding, a well-meaning, well-intentioned colleague greeted me with congratulations, said, genuinely, you've hit the jackpot again. You're lucky. I was polite in thanking him, but on reflection, was I really lucky as he had described? It's funny, isn't it? The harder I work, the more failures I have, the more I network, the more I think, and the more I write bids, the luckier I become. After decades of working on a variety of research projects innovation and development areas, and in academia, and indeed in the private sector, I've been provided with the opportunity to develop large networks of potential collaborators, experience of writing bids and the failure in writing these. And if there is one critical overarching advice that I would give to any new researcher, is read the call. And I'll repeat that, read the call. It sounds so simplistic. It sounds so obvious. It sounds really fundamental. And the good news is it is. Why? Way too often I've seen great ideas wither on the vine, disappear, because those working on these ideas haven't read the call. And I mean read the call and try very hard to get into the heads of those that are writing it. What is it they really want? What is this call really after? What do they mean by? And does my research idea answer these fundamental questions? If they ask for 3 pilots or case studies, give them 3 pilots and case studies. If they ask for a longitudinal study, give them a longitudinal study. If they ask you for industrial partners, give them industrial partners. If they ask for working software, give them working software. There are always clues in the text. Yes, it all sounds very rudimentary, but so often I've worked with colleagues that ignore this. Colleagues that have brilliant ideas, but do not translate these ideas into the often strict parameters and criteria of a funding call. My observation is that most research and development ideas require some degree of malleability or pliability, and you definitely require a disposition, one that embraces a little compromise. Bids usually require a large degree of sophisticated wordsmithing. Someone in your team or your network has these skills, find them and work with them. In saying that, I do underestimate the resilient inventors who persevere and persevere, go it alone with their inventions and achieve great success. There are lots of motivational management books and autobiographical texts of entrepreneurs that extol the virtues of this approach, offering the kind of advice that includes no compromise, believe in yourself. And for a very small number of us, this will work. It sells books and self-development classes. It's at the core of many a curriculum in management studies. The IOM excluded in Bolton, where we take a much more adventurous approach. For the majority of us, and certainly for mortal academics like me, and the majority of you, my advice is be pragmatic. Bid writing and success is about percentages. It's not about luck. Well, actually, there's a bit of luck in it, in appealing to the right reviewer. But isn't it strange, as I alluded to you earlier, the more you write, the more failure you get, the luckier you become. Can I have slide 4, Celestine? I think what I'm going to do is I developed a list of pointers towards successful bid writing. In academia, indeed in life, we like numbers, we like lists. So here are my pointers to being successful in securing research funding. Perhaps these will form the basis of my next management book, not. First, network, network, network. Second, read the call. Third, does my idea fit the call? Fourth, read the call. Fifth, what resources do I need to make this work? Sixth, read the call. 7, who do I need to make this work? 8, read the call. 9, how do I reconcile the idea, the resources and the people? 10, read the call. Is there sufficient funding available in the call to achieve this? 12, read the call. 13, identify the resources needed and choose your collaborators. I'll deal with that a little later. 14, read the call. 15, write your bid whilst reading the call. 16, read the call. 17, get an experienced colleagues to read your bid. 18, get your experienced colleagues to read the call. 19, submit your bid on time and within budget, or, and it's not advised, an extremely compelling reason why you need more or less funding. Wait and hope that you might get lucky. As a researcher, repeat the above process in perpetuity throughout your career. For a significant part of my academic career, I've been involved in large collaborative research projects funded through various organisations. These have included the EU Horizon funding, JISC, and the last project that I was involved in of a large project was a around 20 million euros that was an industrial and an academic partnership in a project called RAGE, which my introducer mentioned to you, Realising an Applied Gaming Ecosystem. The project won an award for innovation in the EU. So if you get a chance, I'm not going to dwell and talk you through the project. Go and have a look at it and see what we did in terms of that project. It involved working with 20 European partners from both industry and academia. And we had a very ambitious, some would say grandiose vision, some of which was realised, a lot of which we didn't. I've also directed national HE innovation and support services where collaboration was at the core of these activities. What underpins my work is collaboration, and what underpins most successful bids is collaboration. UKRI itself invests significant amounts in supporting the development of this, be they disciplinary centres of excellence or in encouraging cross-disciplinary collaborative approaches to provide different lenses and multiple approaches to addressing research questions. But what is this nebulous thing called collaboration, and how does it happen? Can I have slide 5? What is collaboration? Well, I'll give you a Wikipedia definition, and I will tell you why I've used Wikipedia a little later. Collaboration is the process of 2 or more people, entities or organizations working together to complete a task or achieve a goal. Collaboration is similar to cooperation. Most collaboration requires leadership, although the form of leadership can be social within a decentralized and egalitarian group. Why did I pick Wikipedia and not an academic or managerial text? Well, it was conscious. It's intended. Wikipedia is an excellent example of contemporary approaches to international global collaboration on a monumental scale. Thousands of organizations and citizens contribute their skills and their time to a common purpose. It's a collaboration that extends way beyond the aim of its parts to produce a dynamic and very current resource. It shows what can be achieved through effective, coordinated collaboration. If someone were to write a brief to develop Wikipedia, think how nonsensical the pitch would be. Well, I've got this idea. I'm going to create an online dictionary to include everything and everybody in the world, and I'll keep it up to date every hour of the day. And guess what? The clever bit is that everyone in the world, well, at least initially in the West, will contribute their time and their content to this resource for free. Well, thank you, Mr. Sanger and Mr. Wales. You both know where the door is. That isn't what happened, of course. I discussed the Wikipedia phenomena with the said Jimmy Wales, the founder, and he said to me that he had figured that people would want to work together for a common goal. Jimmy's a good example of those one of the entrepreneurs I spoke to you about earlier, 1 in a million, who fought for his enterprise. It is an enterprise that's built entirely on collaboration between people and their willingness to contribute to a common goal. Can I put slide 6? Okay, research is a very complex undertaking. I'm going to focus on collaboration to manage the complexity in research. Having a background in cybernetics, I like complexity. I like the way we deal with it, and I think about complexity. Why is collaborating on research important? The UKRI and funding councils increasingly look to find collaborative projects. Research collaborations are thought to be one of the most efficient ways to manage complex research challenges and questions, and have become the most common form of scientific research nowadays. As I mentioned, in the UK, collaboration is encouraged and highly regarded, and is increasingly becoming the de facto approach to addressing scientific questions. Some collaborations work exceptionally well, whilst others do not. And in the many years I've been involved in research, I've experienced all aspects of what I'll call the collaboration experience continuum, from the sublime at one end through to the ridiculous to the excruciatingly painful at the other end. Collaboration, well, at least productive collaboration in research, is a real challenge. It's not easy and there are no silver bullets, but collaboration at its best helps you manage this very complexity. For example, I'm not a really good writer. Yes, I can write. I've written 100 papers, but I do know lots of people who are exceptional writers, exceptional academic writers, who can help me and communicate and translate my research ideas. Do the same. It's back to that networking. To counterbalance this, I'm a good reader. Through and working through with good writers, I become part of an effective research team. A cursory examination of the research income I've been part of generating over my career reveals it's probably now around £30 million sterling. And whilst my introduction mentioned a new project, I'm not officially meant to announce that at this stage until all of the finalisation of it. But that would be an additional 3 million that will be coming in for 7 partners to undertake the new project that we just secured. At this point, I was going to provide a whole load of pointers and details of how this has been achieved, but born out of research project that I've been working on, and this project used thematic content analysis of qualitative interview data, Bozeman et al. Provide us what I think is a really useful, in our context here, and comprehensive model of what they term bad and good collaboration factors, which we might wish to think about. Using their model, I'll add a little bit of my own experience. Can we go to slide 7? Good and bad collaboration. A list of bad collaboration factors to start with. Not meet the work commitments. Problems related to perceptions that agreed upon work is not delivered on time or up to your expectations. I had one co-author who ended up stopping work and wouldn't respond to emails. I tried to contact him many times. I had to redo this work because he didn't send anything. I saw him once at a conference and was mad, and he apologized and said he was very busy, too busy to send an email. On an EU project with 13 partners, with 6 very detailed work packages, 4 key deliverables, that's EU speak for your papers and your reports and your outputs. Myself and a Norwegian partner were left to write these deliverables within 7 days, without support, without assistance. Suffice to say, we didn't choose to work with that particular partner again. Second problem, crediting disputes. Problems are related to disagreements about who should receive credit or about the appointment of credit. In the age of accountability for research, this is a real problem. It's compounded. My advice is be very, very open with your work. Share credit equally on everything you do. If you enter into a partnership agreement, enter with this mindset. We're going to share things. We're going to work together for all our benefit. Number 3, personality clashes. You're going to get these problems related to friction owing to diverse personality types. I'm not going to get into personality types, but working with different people and different cultures can present real problems. it always happens. There are very assertive characters in projects. Establish a mechanism or a process where these issues raised by these assertive characters, moderate them, moderate your own behaviour, and be respectful of others, cultures, and their views. 4, selfish. Problems are related to perceptions that individuals act only in their own interest, without consideration of others. This is commonplace in projects, and you are going to work with people that are exceptionally selfish. Someone in one of the projects that I worked with was a PhD student, had a grand idea which we all developed, and then claimed that in terms of their PhD studies. It always occurs there'll be those that have their own agenda, and be very mindful of them. Again, moderate your own behaviour and focus on the collective aims of the project. Ghost authors, problems related to individuals insisting on authorships but not making contributions. That's a big problem. I think it's a matter of academic and personal integrity. As a rule, when I start projects, I look at equal authorship for contributions. Starting on that basis, if you contributed conceptually to a paper, I think it's academically ethical to claim authorship and share authorship of that paper. The lead author would be the first named author. So again, we understand that. We need to embrace it. We need to mediate it. We need to moderate our own behavior. Exploitation, problems related to the exploitation by the powerful of the issues and the work that is developed, and the pushing back of the less powerful in these relationships. Again, be respectful, moderate your behavior. And if you have a team of collaborators that are so minded, it'll work well. What I'll term, or what our researchers term as asymmetric investment, problems related to conflicts arising from differential levels of investment in the collaboration. Some people will believe more, some will invest more in what you're trying to achieve. And again, communication and moderation of your own behavior is key to making that work. Organizational, institutional clashes, point 8. Cultural, national origins differences, problems related to conflicting norms and expectations of different people from different nations and cultures. Again, we moderate our behavior. We try to work in a collaborative and productive way. You always get a controlling collaborator, problems related to one or more collaborators seeking undue and unhelpful levels of control of the project. And again, it's about communication. As you can see, a consistent theme is communication. Now, I don't want to be negative. We'll kind of get nearer the end of this to talk about what's good in collaborating. Personality, success pertaining to the meshing of collaborators' personalities. Respect them, work together towards a common goal. Effective communication. If it's one takeaway from this project, it's communication is the key. Success to the ability to communicate effectively and in a manner preferred by team members. And communication isn't dissemination. It's speaking and it's listening. And probably the latter is the most important skill. Production. Success related to high levels of collaborators, work productivity. So be very, very careful in your planning. Be equal with in terms of your expectations of the work output of the partnership. Plan it from day one, develop it, and be very, very clear what is expected of each person. Meet your commitments. Success related to delivering work when agreed and as it's agreed. Certainly within the research projects I've been involved in, you do not miss a deadline. everything within your power to miss deadlines. You do not ask for changes, and you do not deliver work late. If there is outstanding research or is the data missing, then you work with what you have with signposts to future outputs, but don't bury your head in your sand and hope that it'll go away. And then another key issue is trust. Success is related to belief that your collaborators can be trusted to work effectively and ethically with you. And that's a huge part of the mix. Exploitation, problems related to exploitation, ensure that you collectively exploit the work that you're doing and work very, very ethically with them. So can we go to the next slide? Yeah. In summary, I know it's been a rather whistle-stop tour. I said I'd talk for about 40 to 45 minutes, which I will. What I've gone through really is I'm asking you to think about collaborators. These pointers here are the takeaways really from this session. I cannot emphasize, read the call, understand it, get into your reviewers' heads and try and find if your idea is what these people are looking for. If you don't, we'll never get past the starting gate. So read the call, read the text, look at the implicit requirements and certainly respond to the explicit requirements. Develop a bit of resilience. There's going to be lots of no's. You're going to fail, but embrace failure. You probably heard it from other speakers. Treat failure as a really positive learning opportunity. The next time you might get it right. Again, allow yourself to fail and embrace this. Network, 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 and then network some more. It's all about building your research networks. Celestine, your lead here, is a perfect example of somebody that has excelled in building research networks. And is a fantastic example of doing that. I take my hat off to them. Choose who you collaborate with very carefully. Now, you are going to make some mistakes. I've made lots of mistakes with research projects and who I've chosen to collaborate. But after 25 years, I've kind of nailed it down. The last 3 major projects that I bid for, last 4 I've got. And I got it, I think, because I work with people that I trust, that I respect, and that I know will invest as much as I do into the idea or the project. And the last one, be lucky. As that academic who congratulated me and said I was lucky, behind luck is all that hard work, is all of that networking, is all of that writing. So 2 pages of references. The first references are the images, which are all open source and available. There are academic references to who I've quoted on the next page, Celestine. Next page. Thank you for your time. We've got it exactly where I wanted to be. I'm a minute early. I did cut down on some of what I was intending to say. That's me. As you can see, I'm usually quite energetic in the flesh. That was a keynote at a conference many, many years ago. Please feel free to contact me on email. I'm on Twitter. That's my LinkedIn. And let's have some questions if people have got questions. Very happy to take them.
Okay, thank you so very much. This is mind-blowing and wow, thank you so very much, sir. I've learned a lot and I'm very certain that my colleagues and everybody on this call have also taken 1 or 2 things. So it's time for questions. If you have a question, please just indicate by raising up your hands, and then we'll have you talk. If you have a question for our guest speaker, just raise up your hand or.
Don't be frightened. I don't bite.
Okay, so we have a question by Shireen. So let me read it out. What can we do to improve collaboration to manage complexity in research as a new researcher or student? So I guess, speaker, sir.
Yeah, I guess, well, that's an interesting question, because I kind of hope that I talked about that for the last 40 minutes. But I think the shift on your question, which is a really interesting angle, is as a new researcher and a student, because a lot of what I've talked about is from somebody that's spent 30 years of their life kind of working on this. Well, my advice is you have a supervisor, you have people that you work with, and it's about developing a network, not just with your fellow students, but with your supervisors, and talking through and being very open with your ideas. Now, there's a great deal of trust in doing that. Now, most of the supervisors that you might work with in the university have some experience of writing bids. They certainly would have at an institutional level, and some have experience of where we might go to get some funding for that idea. So again, I think the advice I can give is talk to your existing network, develop your network, and also within other institutions. It's pretty important. Bolton, for example, doesn't have a tremendous track record with the research councils. So if I were looking to develop a bid as a new researcher with a research council or look at research council call, I'd probably seek out partners that have had a degree of success with that research council and develop the bid with them in a collaborative way. And again, it does boil down to trust. So as I said, those pointers about network, 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 and recognize your own skills. As I said, I am not a great writer. Yes, I can write, and I've written a lot, but I do think I'm a good reader. So if you get a bid and you think, oh, what do they want? Then Professor Paul Hollins is somebody you might say, Paul, can you read this bid? Can you interpret it? Does it fit what I'm doing? So again, it's be open, it's converse. There's no silver bullets. Now, managing the complexity, as I said in the presentation, if you've got a good collaborative team, that manages complexity. You can only manage complexity with complexity. And that, I wish that was my quote, but that was Ashby in 1954, cybernetician. And so complexity management can only be managed with complexity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much. That was quite wonderful. Do we have more questions? Prof is ready to answer all our questions. Please, let's bring in our questions. Write your questions or raise up your hand and let Prof do justice to your questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Professor Paul. I also have a question. And it is in terms of your ideas not being taken or used after presenting them and being rejected by the body. So how do you prevent your ideas from being, used, especially, for new researchers that don't know how to go about it, how to defend or maybe register that idea and claim it as an original, initiative, please? Thank you.
Yeah, as I said in the presentation, there are ideas, and good ideas are 10 a penny. And getting funding for those ideas and support for those ideas, unless you're one of those, and Samuel, you might be one of those wonderful entrepreneurs that goes it alone, ignores the advice, and is very, very successful. And I hope you are. I'm certainly not. I'm certainly not one of them. So again, my advice, Samuel, is network, look at various calls, try and understand the calls, and try and understand if your idea fits those calls and those funding requirements. Speak to people, share your idea. Interesting. I always quote that there was an organization back in the 1890s, and they were looking to, they made horse whips. And that's a whip for horses, for transport, to get a horse to move. And they worked and they worked and they worked on developing the most magnificent design and the ideas behind the design of the most magnificent horsewhip. While they were doing this, somebody else invented the internal combustion engine.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so if you think about it, be mindful, situate your idea, question your idea. And as you say, if you're one of the entrepreneurs that can drive it through without support, great. I can't do that. You might be, and good luck. If not, network. Talk about your ideas, write about your ideas, and share your vision with others, and get others to buy into what it is that's so good about your research or your ideas. Be open. That would be my best advice.
Okay, Prof. Thank you so very much, Professor Sir. There's a question for you from Taiwo. It says, what can we do if you fail many times and no one wants to see your research or ideas?
Try again.
Wow.
That's a simple answer, piece, is try again. I have failed and failed and failed and failed. And as I said in the talk, be resilient. It doesn't mean your idea is bad.
Mm.
What it means is, for whatever reason, it didn't fit what they wanted in this case. It might fit the next one.
Yeah.
It might not. And if it doesn't, try again. Keep trying again with these ideas. It isn't, each time we learn from the feedback. You generally get good feedback from your research applications, and so use that feedback positively. You don't have to rethink your idea completely. Most of the feedback will be of the kind that perhaps if you thought about doing this, and then you think about it, you can say, well, no, I don't think that works with my idea. Or you can embrace it and say, well, maybe we could look at it and see if it is useful. But the simple answer is, I said it's a two-word answer to the question piece, try again.
Thank you very much, Professor. We keep trying, we keep pushing until we get it done. Okay, there's another question for you, sir, from Afalake Adidayo. What if you share your idea with someone and they steal it without acknowledging your contribution? Yeah,
it's another great point. And that's why I raised it in the collaboration question, that you will always get people that will steal your idea, will want to take credit for it. And you can take two approaches. You can say, well, I'm not going to risk being open. I'm not going to tell anybody about my ideas because they're my ideas and I don't want to risk somebody else stealing them. Or you can take another approach, as I try to do, and is be open. You've got to accept that there are people in the world that will do that. But my experience is most people are good, and most people will, if you are open with them, be equally open with you. I mean, you can protect ideas with non-disclosure agreements. There are formal and legal processes that you can apply. But in my experience, whenever I've had to sign an NDA, at the end of the project, it's never been the best experience I've ever had. So I always look at it as a bit of a warning sign. If anybody asks me, I'll be open and I'll share what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. I've just had this last weekend, I was at a research an academic and public conference. I was talking with one person for 3 hours about something that I thought was a good idea in their field. There's a huge risk in that. I don't know whether they'll take it away. I'm hoping that they'll come back to me and we'll talk some more and we'll have potentially a new research project. I spoke to somebody last week and said, well, there's a new call coming out next year that I'm aware of. I'm thinking it's around this. And they said, well, why don't they just go and do it? And I said, well, yes, they can. But I think they'll want to work with us and they'll trust us. So again, it's about building networks of trust. So there isn't a simple answer. You can go down the legal route, absolutely, and you can use NDAs, you can use copyright. But my experience, if you start the conversation with an NDA, it never ends very well.
Okay, Prof, we have one final question. This is going to be the last question for this session. From Maria, it says, having identified potential collaborators who are champions in their field, how do we prevent the Apollo syndrome from occurring within the group dynamics?
Well, this is an interesting one because I touched on personality types. Maria, could I ask you, could you unmute Maria's mic and to talk to me about, in this context, what she thinks the Apollo syndrome is to the group dynamics? I'd like her to, before I start harping on, is Maria there? Can we unmute Maria?
Yes,
Sit down, sit down.
Hi, Maria.
okay, yes, Hollins. What I mean, the Apollo syndrome is when you have highly skilled and professionals who come together to work as a team within the group. So now, when they're in that group, there's a tendency for them to draw back and not give their best. So having identified this group, how do we enhance their potential and draw out their very best?
Right.
You know, to have your project and your research done.
Yeah, and why I asked you to sit down, because I'm kind of familiar with this. And again, through the presentation, I talked about the key being communication. And when I talk about communication, that's listening and that's speaking. And so when you're in a project and you recognize that perhaps there are those in the group that are less vocal, you make space to encourage those people to be more vocal. Now, some will take that opportunity and embrace it, and thank you for it. Again, others may just shrink back even further. Now, there isn't a simple solution other than communication, allowing them space to present their thoughts and ideas. And if they're uncomfortable within a group presenting them, find them a space that they're comfortable in doing it. It might be having a coffee. It might be going and playing a game of football with them. It might be doing something completely abstract with those people, and try and encourage them and give them the space and let them determine the space that works for them to give you their ideas to work. And in my experience, in projects, it's many of those experts that are together that perhaps shrink back a little bit, that are not as forthcoming, that produce some really excellent work and very, very good work. And so again, it's about celebrating their successes and allowing them to develop as people in the whole process. Whenever we work on a project, and I include myself here, I want to develop myself within that project. I want to develop my own skills, whether those are listening skills, whether those are presentation skills. And I think most people who are involved in collaborative work want to develop themselves in that way. So it's giving them the space to do that. It's recognizing them. As an experienced project coordinator and leader, and as I said, I've done a lot of these, I'd like to think that I can recognize those syndromes, those dynamics at fairly early stages. And if I'm not allowing people to speak and be visible, as indeed I've just done with you, Maria,
Yes.
to ask you to come on screen. And we all know Maria now has interests in group dynamics, in syndromes, in team building and team working. I think maybe we've allowed you to perhaps express yourself there. We've given you a little bit of a space. I hope it hasn't been uncomfortable for you. No, and that's the key. So it's recognizing those kind of qualities that are there at the table, giving space for those qualities and those people to flourish. And success for me now, as I've got older, perhaps when I was younger, I had all of those bad traits that I talked about earlier in the presentation, and they've mellowed a little bit as I've got older. I recognize that I get a lot wrong, and be humble.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to hand over to Dr. Celestine, but before I do that, I have two things I'm taking home, to be resilient and to keep trying. And, is a wonderful take home for me. There's no failure. Nobody is a failure. If it's not good the first time, just keep trying. And then networking, meeting the right people, networking, going out there, pushing yourself out there is going to.
If I can add to that piece, don't invest your time and effort in negativity. Don't go there. It's hard sometimes because you can take things very personally. Don't invest in it. Move on. But if the negative person is there, find the next positive one.
Thank you so much. Another wonderful one from Professor Hollins. Thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to hand over to Professor Dr. Celestine. Thank you so very much, sir.
Okay. We normally call her woman chairman. Thank you very much for bringing this on, and Samuel doing well. Thank you very much, Professor Paul, for this explosive talk. This is something that we are on and we've also been doing. So I really appreciate you coming today. We are going to do our usual thing since Sam is not here. So is Sam here now? No, she has okay, something is wrong. Okay, I don't know. Okay, good. All right, as usual, we are presenting you an award again for coming to this November to Remember series of talks on collaboration and funding best practice. Thank you very much, Professor Paul. This is from us as usual, and I will send to you, and we'll also make the public, make it public. Thank you very much again for coming.
Thank you Celestine, for inviting me. I always enjoy these.
We can't hear you now. I think it's much. And yes,
Thank you, Celestine. Can you hear me now?
we still can't hear.
Yes, we can. We can.
We
Yeah.
can hear you, sir.
Thank you. Right. Thank you, Celestine, for inviting me. I always
What's
enjoy
this?
these.
Oh,
I don't think Celestine can hear me.
now we can hear.
Yeah. Thank you, Celestine, for the invitation. Thank you, Peace, for chairing
Thank you,
the
sir.
session so well. And
Thank you, sir.
my takeaway is thank you, Maria. And you all now know Maria as a challenging colleague. She sat there. So you've all been introduced to Maria, and I'm sure that she'd be very happy to work with you. So, and Samuel, thank you for your question as well. And thank other questioners for their time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Please, everyone know we continue tomorrow, 1 p.m. It's going to be another explosive on Internet of Things. That is my core area. And our friend Roa is going to be present. He has sent me a message that he is available and is ready. So see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you for coming. Thank you for
Thank you,
support.
sir.
Good day, everyone.
Mama, please.